The parking lot silence. The sun was slowly setting behind the tall buildings of the city, casting a golden hue on the wide pavement outside a local diner. It was the kind of evening when everything seemed to slow down. Traffic, footsteps, even thoughts. But inside the diner, a quiet tension was growing. Keanu Reeves sat in a corner booth by himself, wearing a plain black t-shirt, jeans, and a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. He had finished a long day on a small indie film set and just wanted some peace, a hot coffee, and maybe a grilled cheese sandwich. He liked this place. No paparazzi, no fans yelling his name, just people living their ordinary lives. That was what he loved. Ordinary, raw human moments. As he sipped from his chipped white mug, his eyes wandered to the window. Across the street, a young man in a gray hoodie was unlocking his bicycle. He looked around 19, maybe 20, with a backpack slung over one shoulder. His name was Liam, and he had just finished a brutal shift at the bookstore across town. College. Classes by day, work by evening, and that was his routine. Life was tough, but he was tougher. Just as Liam adjusted his backpack, a low growl echoed down the street. 3 loud motorcycles rumbled into the parking lot. They weren't ordinary riders. These were the kind who wore matching jackets with flames and skulls stitched into the back, the kind who stared too long and spoke too loud. They pulled up near the diner, parked their bikes in a wide arc, and stepped off with heavy boots and heavier egos. Keanu set his mug down. His fingers didn't twitch. His face didn't change, but his eyes sharpened just a bit. He had seen this before. Too many times. Liam tried to mind his business. He reached for his helmet, but one of the bikers, tall and stocky with a braided beard, stepped into his path. He didn't say anything at first, just stood there, blocking the bike. Liam looked up and gave a nervous smile. Excuse me." The biker smirked. "What's the rush, college boy? Got a test to cry over?" His 2 friends laughed loudly. One of them nudged the bike with his boot, tipping it slightly. Liam caught it just in time. "Hey," Liam said, his voice shaking. "Please don't." The tall biker leaned closer. "You saying something, hoodie boy?" Liam's hands tightened on the handlebars, but he didn't move. "I just want to leave, please." Inside the diner, the waitress refilled Keanu's mug. "You okay, honey?" she asked softly, noticing he hadn't touched his food. Keanu didn't answer. His gaze was locked outside. The biker shoved Liam's shoulder lightly, just enough to be disrespectful, but not enough to be an obvious assault. "What you gonna do, huh? Gonna run to your mama?" Liam backed up a step. His voice cracked. "I said I just want to leave. I don't want any trouble." The biker laughed again. "Too late, kid. Trouble found you." Keanu stood up slowly, not with drama, not with anger, just calm, deliberate motion. He took a $20 bill from his wallet and slid it under his plate. "Thanks," he said to the waitress. Outside, Liam glanced around. No one else seemed to be watching. The street was empty. The diner windows glared from the reflection of the setting sun. He didn't see the man stepping out the door. The biker reached for Liam's bag. "What's in there, your sad poetry?" But before his hand made contact, a quiet voice interrupted. "Hey." The biker turned. So did his friends. Keanu stood, just a few feet away, relaxed. Still. A slight breeze moved his hair under the cap. He looked ordinary. Not a celebrity. Not a fighter. Just a man. But there was something about the way he stood. How his shoulders rested. How his hands were, by his sides, not clenched, not trembling. Liam's eyes widened. He recognized that face, but he didn't say anything. The biker raised an eyebrow. "What do you want, old man?" Keanu smiled faintly. "I think the kid asked to be left alone." "And who are you?" the biker said, stepping forward. Keanu didn't flinch. "Just someone who's seen this scene before. It never ends well." The biker chuckled and looked at his friends. "You hear that? He thinks he's in a movie." Keanu tilted his head. "Maybe, but you should know something." "Yeah? What's that?" Keanu's tone didn't change. "I've been in a lot of movies." For a moment, silence fell. The biker stared at him, confused, maybe amused. Then one of the others whispered something. Recognition dawned in their faces. Their smirks faded. Liam was frozen. The tall biker looked back at him, then at Keanu. You're that guy. From those action films." Keanu nodded once. "Yeah, and I'm also someone who thinks picking on people is weak." The biker opened his mouth, then closed it. No comeback. No insult. Just quiet. His two friends shuffled behind him. Keanu stepped closer, not aggressive, just firm. "You've got your bikes. He's got his. Let him go." They didn't speak. They backed away slowly, climbed on their motorcycles and left. No drama. No fight. Just retreat. Liam stood there, still holding his bike, his heart racing. He looked at Keanu, still stunned. "Thank you," he said, voice trembling. "I don't know what would have happened if you weren't here." Keanu smiled. "You stood your ground. That matters." Liam looked away. "I was scared." "That's okay," Keanu replied gently. "Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing anyway." Liam nodded. His hands were still shaking. Keanu reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small folded card. He handed it to the young man. "If anyone bothers you again, call the number on that. Tell them I sent you." Liam unfolded it. It was a contact from a personal security group. Liam blinked. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to," Keanu said, interrupting softly. "No one should feel alone in moments like that." Liam swallowed hard. He felt tears pushing up behind his eyes, but forced a smile. Keanu turned to walk back down the street, disappearing into the fading light. Inside the diner, the waitress watched him from the window, smiling quietly to herself. Outside, Liam looked at the card again. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but tonight something had changed. He didn't just meet a movie star. He met a man who didn't need to be loud to be powerful. He met someone who reminded him that kindness wasn't weakness. It was strength. Shadows returned. Liam couldn't sleep. That night, he sat on the edge of his bed in the tiny dorm room holding the small card Keanu had given him. The name on it read, Guardian Protocol, Personal Response Team. Beneath it was a number, followed by a short note in Keanu's handwriting. "If you ever feel unsafe, use it." Liam read those words over and over. He still couldn't believe it really happened. A part of him wondered if he had imagined it all. The bikers, the diner, and Keanu Reeves stepping out of the shadows like some guardian angel. But the card in his hand was real. And so were the feelings inside him. Fear, confusion, and something new. A quiet kind of strength. The next morning, Liam walked to campus with his head slightly higher than usual. He wasn't invincible, but he wasn't invisible either. Someone had seen him. Someone had stepped in when it mattered. But fate, it seemed, wasn't done testing him. 3 days later, on a cloudy afternoon, Liam exited his last lecture and began walking toward the parking area where he kept his bike. It had been an ordinary day, sleepy students, bad coffee, and an endless list of assignments. He was texting his roommate when he stopped dead in his tracks. His bike was gone. In its place was a single black chain lying in a coil, as if left there on purpose. Liam's stomach twisted. He looked around, scanning the area. A few students passed by, chatting and laughing, unaware of the storm rising in his chest. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He hesitated before answering. "Hello?" A deep voice, distorted slightly, came through. The speaker. "Still think you're brave, college boy?" Liam's blood ran cold. "Who is this?" he whispered. The voice chuckled. "You got lucky last time. Your Hollywood friend won't always be around." The call ended. Liam stood frozen, holding the phone to his ear. Panic crawled up his spine. His heart pounded so loud he could barely hear anything else. He quickly looked around again. Nothing, no one watching. But he knew what this meant. It wasn't over. He thought about calling the number on the card immediately. But something held him back. Pride, maybe. Fear of seeming
weak.
Or maybe he was still hoping it was just a cruel prank. But as he turned to head back to his dorm, a black motorcycle slowly rolled past the far side of the parking lot. The rider wore a dark helmet with a cracked red visor. He didn't stop, just passed by slowly. Watching, Liam didn't go home. Instead, he headed to the library, trying to lose himself among books and whispers. He found a corner table, sat down, and pulled out his notebook. But he couldn't focus. The threat echoed in his head. And for the first time in a long time, he felt completely alone. Meanwhile, Keanu Reeves was in another part of the city, sitting quietly on a park bench. He was reading a script for a new role, but his mind kept drifting back to the young man at the diner. Liam. Something about the kid reminded him of his younger self. Quiet, thoughtful, and burdened with too much weight for someone his age. His phone buzzed. It was a message from a private number. Update. The young man you assisted may be in danger again. Recent activity spotted near campus. Keanu closed the script. His jaw tensed slightly. He stood up, grabbed his jacket, and walked away without a word. Back at the campus, Liam finally made the call. He sat on the floor of the library hallway, hidden near the emergency stairwell, clutching the card. His hands were shaking again. He dialed. A calm female voice answered. Guardian Protocol, how can we help? Liam spoke quickly, his voice hushed. Keanu Reeves gave me your number, he said. If I felt unsafe. What's your name? Liam Porter. I think they're back. Stay where you are, Liam. Do not engage with anyone. We're tracking your phone. Help is on the way. Liam hung up, heart pounding. He stared at the wall in front of him, breathing fast and shallow. 10 minutes later, a black SUV pulled into the campus lot. Two clean-cut men in discreet tactical gear stepped out. They wore no weapons in sight, just earpieces and calm eyes. One of them entered the library through the side door. Liam Porter, he asked, finding the boy sitting by the stairwell. Liam looked up. You're safe now, the man said gently. We've got you. Liam followed them outside, still in a daze. He climbed into the back seat of the SUV. They drove without speaking, smooth and fast. 20 minutes later, they stopped outside a quiet building in a private neighborhood. Liam was escorted inside. The lights were warm. A woman brought him tea. Another checked if he had any injuries. He was overwhelmed by how calm everyone seemed. How prepared. Then the door opened. Keanu walked in. Liam stood up quickly. I didn't know who else to call, Liam said, voice cracking. Keanu nodded. You did the right thing. They took my bike, they called me, said you wouldn't be around next time. Keanu's face darkened just a little. He sat down across from Liam. Then we make sure there's no next time. Liam blinked. What does that mean? Keanu leaned forward. It means you're not alone anymore, and we're going to find out who's behind this. That night, security cameras near the parking lot were pulled up. The plate numbers of the motorcycle were traced. Records were checked. Names were flagged. The tall biker from the diner? His name was Vince Harrow. He had a long list of priors. Petty threats, intimidation, motorcycle gang affiliation, and a strange connection to a private security group that hadn't been licensed in over 4 years. They think they can scare you because you're young, Keanu said softly. But they made a mistake. Liam looked at him. What mistake? Keanu's eyes didn't blink. They thought no one was watching. The next morning, Keanu called someone. Someone powerful. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't make threats. He just explained what happened. And within hours, a quiet but thorough investigation was launched. Meanwhile, Liam stayed at the safe house. He watched the news. No mention of the incident. No mention of Keanu. It was all being handled quietly, professionally, but he couldn't sleep again. So he walked out to the backyard, looking up at the stars. He felt small, unsure, and overwhelmed. But then he heard footsteps behind him. Keanu. The actor stood, beside him, hands in his pockets. "You okay?" he asked gently. Liam nodded. "I think so. I never thought someone like you would care." Keanu looked up at the sky. Everyone has a moment in their life when they feel unseen. When they wonder if the world even notices they exist. Liam didn't speak. "I've had those moments too," Keanu said. "More than I can count." Liam turned toward him. "What helped you?" Keanu smiled faintly. "Someone once reminded me, even the smallest light is still light, and sometimes we don't need to be saved. We just need someone to stand with us." The stars twinkled above them, silent witnesses to a quiet truth being shared between two strangers brought together by chance, or maybe by purpose. The mask of silence. The next day, Liam woke up feeling strangely calm. He was still in the quiet, safe house guarded by people who looked like they had seen real danger but never showed fear. Sunlight peeked through the window blinds, and a soft breeze moved the curtains. For a moment, everything felt normal, like nothing bad had ever happened, but Liam knew better. He sat at the edge of the guest bed and stared at the small card Keanu had first given him. Guardian Protocol. Those words now meant more than protection. They meant someone believed he was worth protecting. As he headed downstairs, he saw Keanu already awake, standing in the kitchen, pouring tea into 2 ceramic mugs. He looked peaceful, like a man who had made peace with pain and carried it without showing the weight. "Morning," Liam said quietly. Keanu handed him a mug. "Morning, kid. You sleep?" "A little," Liam nodded. "Thank you again, for everything." Keanu leaned against the counter. "You don't need to thank me. I just did what anyone should do." Liam gave a small smile. Not everyone would have done it. A moment passed in silence. Then Keanu asked, "You want to help us stop them?" Liam froze. "Me?" "Yeah," Keanu said. "You, no pressure. But you've seen their faces. You know how they act. You've felt what they want people to feel, fear, and that's how they hide." Liam swallowed hard. "What can I even do?" Keanu walked to the living room and picked up a tablet from the table. He sat down, motioned for Liam to join him, and began, showing surveillance photos, license plates, location pins, and time-stamped screenshots. "We tracked Vince," Keanu said, tapping one photo. "He's connected to a group of bikers who've been doing this for years. Threats, extortion, intimidation, especially on campuses and quiet neighborhoods where they think no one will stand up." "But how is that allowed?" Liam asked. "Because no one reports it," Keanu replied. "Or when they do, it's too late. They use fear like a wall, but we're going to tear it down." Liam studied the screen. The faces of the bikers didn't look so strong anymore. They looked like cowards pretending to be powerful. "What do you need me to do?" Liam asked quietly. Keanu nodded once. "Just your memory. Tell us everything. Details. What they said. How they moved. Even the sound of their voices." Liam sat with Keanu for 2 hours, describing every moment he could remember. Where Vince had placed his hand. How the second biker tapped his boot on the bike tire. Even the ringtone he heard before the threat call came in. All of it. Every word Liam spoke made him feel lighter, like his fear was finally leaving his chest. But in a city like theirs, darkness doesn't rest. Miles away, Vince sat in a grimy auto garage behind a bar that no one talked about openly. The place was quiet, except for the steady drip of oil from a broken pipe and the low buzz of a radio playing some old rock tune. He leaned over a small desk with pictures spread out before him, candid photos of Keanu at the diner, Liam at campus, and even a blurry image of the black SUV outside the U dorm. His eyes narrowed. "Guy's got muscle behind him," said the second biker, a shorter man with a lazy eye and leather gloves. "Those weren't cops who picked up the kid." Vince gritted his teeth. Doesn't matter, nobody embarrasses me in public and walks away clean. The third man, a younger one with a shaky hand, glanced around nervously. Maybe we should back off. It's Keanu Reeves, man. Vince slammed his fist on the table. That means nothing to me. Movie star or not, he got in our way. And I don't care who he thinks he is. The second man shifted. So what now? Vince stood up slowly. Now we remind everyone that this isn't a game. Back at the safe house, Keanu was making calls. Private ones, secure lines. Each conversation was quiet but urgent. People listened when he spoke, not because of his fame, but because they knew he didn't speak unless it mattered. Liam watched from across the room. It was the first time he truly understood what respect looked like. Not fear, not forced power, but quiet control earned through integrity. Later that evening, a woman named Eva, a security specialist from the Guardian Protocol team, sat with Liam and showed him a folder. "We found something odd," she said. Inside were old college newspaper clippings, photos of campus protests. Student leaders speaking out against harassment years ago, and in the corner of one photo, there was Vince, no leather, no beard, just a young man holding a microphone. Liam frowned. "He went here?" "For 1 year," Eva replied. "Until he was expelled after threatening a professor. After that, he disappeared, started running with biker crews upstate. It's personal for him now." Liam closed the folder slowly. So he's not just angry, he wants revenge. Keanu entered the room. Which makes him more dangerous. He doesn't want money. He wants to feel powerful again, and you took that power away when you stood up to him, even if you didn't mean to. Liam sat back. "So what do we do?" Keanu sat beside him. "We let him think we're not watching, and when he tries again, we end it." The next morning, Liam returned to campus. It was his choice. The team offered to keep him safe elsewhere, but he said no. He didn't want to run forever. He walked slowly, heart thudding with every step, eyes scanning corners, shadows, alleyways. He reached the campus bookstore, his old job. The door creaked open and the manager looked up in surprise. "Liam? I thought you were gone." "Just needed a few days," Liam said softly. The manager paused. "You sure you're okay?" Liam smiled a little. "Not yet, but getting there." He returned to work, restocking shelves, ringing up students and pretending things were normal. But beneath the surface, he was waiting. Watching. He didn't have to wait long. Around 7:45 that evening, just as the store was closing, he stepped outside to lock up. And that's when he saw it. A motorcycle. Not black. This time, red, parked, across the street. The rider leaned back on the seat, helmet on, visor down. Unmoving. Just watching. Liam's fingers trembled slightly, but he pulled out his phone. One press on a hidden app. The signal was sent. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He simply turned and walked down the sidewalk, slow and steady, toward the diner where it all began. Behind him, the motorcycle started. The walk into the lion's mouth. Liam walked down the sidewalk, each step echoing like a drumbeat in his ears. The street was dim, and the lamps cast long, shaky shadows across the pavement. It was quiet. Almost too quiet. Like the calm before, something breaks. Behind him, the red motorcycle crept along slowly. It didn't rev loudly or make a scene. It just followed him, silent and patient, like a predator circling its prey. Liam didn't look back. He didn't have to. He knew exactly who it was. His hand was clenched tightly around his phone in his pocket. He had pressed the silent emergency signal on the Guardian Protocol app minutes ago. They knew where he was. They were watching, and more importantly, Keanu was watching too. As Liam reached the diner's parking lot, he paused. The diner was closed now. The windows were dark, chairs flipped on tables, a quiet sign that the world had gone to sleep. But Liam wasn't here for coffee or peace. He was here to face what haunted him. The red motorcycle stopped near the far corner of the lot. The rider killed the engine. The silence after the engine died felt heavier than the growl that came before it. Liam turned to face him. The rider stepped off and removed his helmet. Vince. His eyes were cold, but not wild. They were calculating. Angry, yes, but focused, like someone who believed this was his moment to win back whatever pride he thought he lost. Liam stood his ground, even as his legs trembled. "You've got guts, I'll give you that," Vince said, his voice low and gritty. Liam didn't speak. "Coming back here like you're some kind of hero, thinking that actor's going to protect you forever." He took a step forward. "You think a few bodyguards make you brave?" Liam shook his head. "No, I don't." "Then why are you standing here?" Vince snapped. Liam's voice was quiet, but steady. "Because I'm tired of running." Vince smirked. "You should have stayed hidden." Liam's heart pounded. His breath came quicker, but he held his ground. "You don't scare me anymore." Vince stared at him, eyes narrowing. "That's so," Liam nodded. Vince took another step forward, but stopped when he heard a quiet click behind him. Keanu Reeves stood at the edge of the parking lot. He didn't look angry. He didn't even look surprised. Just calm, still, like a man who had seen this kind of moment 100 times before. "I wouldn't take another step," Keanu said softly. Vince turned slowly. "You again." Keanu walked forward. "You had your chance to walk away. I gave it to you, but you chose this instead." Vince laughed bitterly. "What are you gonna do, actor boy? Quote some lines at me?" Keanu looked past him to Liam. "You, okay?" Liam nodded. Keanu's eyes shifted back to Vince. "Then this ends now." Vince reached behind his belt, but he wasn't fast enough. From the shadows behind the diner, two men from Guardian Protocol emerged, silent and swift. Within seconds, Vince was on the ground, restrained. No shouting, no violence, just clean, controlled precision. Liam watched in disbelief. "I didn't even see them," he whispered. Keanu looked at him. "That's kind of the point." As the agent stood Vince up and placed him in the back of an unmarked vehicle, Keanu and Liam walked away from the lot. "Is it really over?" Liam asked. Keanu paused. "With Vince?" "Yes. But there are always more like him." Liam looked down. "Then what's the point of standing up?" Keanu turned to him. "Because every time someone stands up, it makes it harder for people like him to win. Fear survives in silence. But when you speak, when you stand, you break it." They walked. Down the sidewalk slowly, the night air cool against their skin. Liam looked up at the sky. "I don't feel brave," he said. "Bravery isn't a feeling," Keanu replied. "It's a choice, and you've made it. Over and over again." They reached the corner where another Guardian vehicle waited. Before Liam climbed inside, he turned to Keanu. "Why did you help me?" "Really?" Keanu took a deep breath. "Because someone helped me once. When I was young. When I thought no. One saw me. They didn't do it for credit. They just did it because they could." Liam nodded. "Then, maybe someday I can do the same for someone else." Keanu smiled. "You already have. More than you know." As the vehicle pulled away, Liam watched the city blur past the windows. Something had changed inside him. Not just because Vince was gone, but because he had faced fear and chosen to stand anyway. But what Liam didn't know was that deeper forces were now moving. Someone else had been watching. Someone more dangerous than Vince. Someone who didn't like that a kid and a Hollywood star had disrupted the order of things. And this time, they wouldn't send threats. They would send silence. The man with no patch. The days after Vince's arrest moved slowly but not peacefully. On the surface, life seemed to return to normal. Classes resumed, the campus bookstore reopened, and students went back to complaining about midterms and overpriced coffee. But Liam knew something had shifted, something deeper than what anyone could see. He felt it in the way the wind moved, in how strangers glanced over their shoulders, in how the silence stretched longer between every step he took at night. Guardian Protocol had assured him that Vince was facing real charges this time: organized harassment, intimidation, and illegal surveillance. They had built a case strong enough to stick, but Liam couldn't shake the feeling that the story wasn't over. And he was right. Because behind the bars that now held Vince, a different figure had taken interest. Not loud, not violent, but deliberate, the kind of man who never wore a gang patch because he didn't need one. The others called him Gray, not because of his age, but because of how invisible he made himself. He was the kind of man who appeared when things needed cleaning up, fixing, erasing. Gray didn't ride loud bikes or wear flaming leather. He drove a silent black truck, kept his hair cropped short, and never raised his voice. But every word he spoke felt like a cold wind through broken glass. And now, Gray had a name. Liam Porter. On a rainy Tuesday, Liam was back on campus. He had started walking with earbuds in but kept the volume low. Not for music, just so he could pretend things were normal while still hearing everything around him. Keanu had told him once, "Never stop being aware, even when you feel safe." So Liam listened, to his gut, to the sounds that didn't belong. And that morning, something didn't feel right. A man in a dark coat leaned against a tree just outside the bookstore. He wasn't dressed like the others. No student ID, no laptop, bag, just a stillness that didn't match the pace of the world around him. Liam paused at the door. He looked once. The man didn't move. He entered the store, heart pounding. Guardian Protocol had eyes on him. He knew that. Eva had said there were teams near campus every day. But this felt different. He went to the back room and pulled out his phone. Typed a quick message to Keanu. Someone's watching. Not like Vince. Cleaner. Colder. Feels wrong. He hit send and stared at the screen. No reply. 10 minutes passed. Then his phone buzzed. "Don't leave the store. I'm coming." Across the city, Keanu was on a soundstage filming a quiet scene in an indie film. The director was whispering something to the lighting crew when his assistant rushed in with a phone. "It's from the protocol line," she said. Keanu took the phone, walked to a corner, and read Liam's message. He didn't ask for permission. He didn't explain. He simply nodded once to the director and walked off the set, already pulling on his jacket. He knew that silence Liam described, because years ago, he'd felt it too. Back at the bookstore, Liam stayed in the break room. His co-workers didn't ask questions. They knew something had happened recently, though they weren't sure what. Most of them just thought he was taking extra shifts or dealing with anxiety. But Liam was doing more than surviving now. He was learning how to see the storm before it broke. 22 minutes later, Keanu walked into the store like any other customer. No entourage, no spotlight. Just calm eyes and quiet steps. Liam came out from the back, his shoulders easing just slightly. "He's gone," Liam said softly. "Left maybe 15 minutes ago." "Did he approach you?" Keanu asked. "No, just watched, but it wasn't like the others. He didn't want to scare me. He wanted to measure me." Keanu nodded. "Then it's him." Liam frowned. "Who?" Keanu looked out the window. Someone worse than Vince. They sat at a table in the corner of the store as customers browsed around them. "His name's Gray," Keanu said. "No one knows his full name. But when crews go too far, when someone needs to be handled quietly, he's the one they send. No gangs, no patches, just silence." Liam leaned forward. "Then why isn't he arrested?" Keanu gave a quiet smile. "Because he doesn't do the crimes. He orchestrates them, like a conductor with no fingerprints." Liam sat back. "So, what now?" Keanu met his eyes. "Now we draw him out." That evening, Liam posted something on social media. It was subtle, a single photo of the diner parking lot, the caption reading, "Not every storm comes to destroy. Some come to reveal who's been standing alone." No hashtags, no location tag, just the message. An hour later, the photo had 200 likes. And one direct message. Nice quote. "Shame no one told you storms come with lightning." No username, no profile picture, just words. Liam showed it to Keanu. "It's him," Keanu said. "He's testing you." What do we do? Liam asked. Keanu looked out the window at the falling night. We give him what he wants. 3 days later, Liam walked alone into the old train yard just outside the city. It was abandoned, rusted cars, broken rails, wind pushing dust. Across cracked pavement, he wore a microphone. Keanu and the team were nearby, watching from hidden drones and long-range cameras. Gray stood at the center of the yard, arms folded. Liam walked up slowly. You came, Gray said. His voice was smooth. No accent, no tone. Just stillness. You called, Liam replied. Gray smiled faintly. You don't belong in this kind of game, kid. Then why are you here? Liam asked. Because someone needs to remind you that stories don't always have heroes, Gray said. Liam's hand clenched at his side. Maybe. But they don't always end in silence either. Gray stepped forward. You think the actor can protect you forever? Men like him fade. Fear doesn't. Liam took a breath. Then maybe it's time someone stood louder than fear. Gray looked at him, studying the face of a boy who was no longer afraid to speak. Then a soft beep echoed. Gray turned, just as Keanu walked out from the shadows behind an old train car, followed by 4 members of Guardian Protocol. They weren't armed visibly, but their presence was undeniable. This ends tonight, Keanu said. Gray didn't move. You think this changes anything? It already has, Keanu replied. Because the kid you tried to scare isn't alone anymore. Gray stood still, eyes flicking between them. Then, without warning, he raised both hands slowly. Very well. The agent stepped in and cuffed him. Liam exhaled deeply. It was over. 4. Now. As they walked away, Keanu placed a hand on Liam's shoulder. You did it. I didn't fight, Liam said. You didn't run either, Keanu replied. Sometimes the quietest stands are the loudest. They left the train yard as dawn broke over the horizon, light spilling across the rusted tracks. Fear had come in silence, but it left in chains. Louder than fear, the next morning the sun rose over the city with a quiet calm that Liam hadn't felt in a long time. He stood by his dorm window watching golden light drip across rooftops and trees as if the world was slowly exhaling. Birds chirped outside. A bicycle bell rang faintly in the distance. For the first time in weeks, the shadows weren't following him. Gray had been taken into federal custody the night before. It didn't make the news. There were no headlines, no photos, just silence, the same way he'd lived, now wrapped around him like a prison. But to Liam, that silence meant something new now. Not fear. Peace. He took a slow breath and picked up the small card Keanu had given him that first night outside, the diner. It was worn now, the corners bent, but the name still stood clear. Guardian Protocol. He slid it into a drawer. He didn't need to carry it anymore. Just then his phone buzzed, a message from Keanu. I'm outside. Walk with me? Liam smiled and grabbed his jacket. They met near the old footbridge behind the library. Keanu was leaning on the railing, hands in his coat pockets, looking down at the gentle stream below. His face was calm, his posture relaxed, the same quiet strength that had carried him through every moment of this story. Liam stepped beside him. You always this quiet in the morning? Keanu chuckled. Just thinking. About? Keanu turned to him. You? Liam blinked. Me? You stood up, Keanu said. Not just to Vince, not just to Gray, but to the idea that you had to be small, that you had to be silent. Liam looked down at the water. I was scared. Of course you were. Keanu nodded. But courage isn't the absence of fear. It's walking straight through it anyway. They stood there, in silence for a while, just 2 people who had met under unlikely circumstances. One, a man shaped by loss and experience, and the other, a boy still discovering who he was. So what now? Liam asked. Keanu looked at him. Now you live. Now you go to class. Write your papers. Laugh too loud at bad jokes, fall in love, ride your bike. All the things they tried to take from you. You do them louder than ever. Liam grinned. You make it sound easy. It's not, Keanu said. But it's worth it. They walked across campus together. Students passed by, unaware of who they were or what they had been through. And that was okay. Not every story needed applause. Some stories were meant to be carried quietly, like armor. As they reached the bookstore, Liam paused. You think people like Vince or Gray will ever stop trying to hurt others? Keanu shook his head. Probably not. But people like you, people who stand, who speak, who refuse to back down, you make it harder for them. And sometimes that's enough. Liam nodded. And if they come back? Keanu smiled. You won't be alone. 2 weeks later, Liam stood on a small stage in the Student Center auditorium. He hadn't planned to speak, but the university had invited him to join a panel on campus safety and community awareness. He stared at the microphone, nerves bouncing in his chest. But then he looked down and saw Keanu in the back row, dressed, simply leaning forward listening. Liam stepped up to the mic. Hi, he said, voice shaking just a little. I'm Liam Porter, and I want to tell you something I wish someone told me earlier. Fear doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human, and being brave doesn't mean fighting with your fists. Sometimes it means asking for help, or just saying, this isn't okay. He looked around the room. I thought I was alone, but I wasn't. And you're not either. The room went silent, the kind of silence that isn't empty, but full of something powerful. Hope. After the event, students came up to shake Liam's hand. One girl with tear-filled eyes whispered, "Thank you. I needed to hear that." Another gave him a note with a drawing of a boy standing in the dark with a flashlight, and the words, "Your voice is your light," written under it. Outside, Keanu was waiting. "You did good," he said. "I didn't freeze," Liam replied. "You stood up," Keanu said again, just like before. "What happens to Gray?" Liam asked. "He'll be dealt with," Keanu said. "But more importantly, his silence doesn't control you anymore." They stood there letting the wind pass between them. Students walked by laughing. The world moved on, but Liam didn't feel behind. He felt ready. Months passed. Liam graduated with honors. He started a blog where students across the country shared their stories about bullying, fear, harassment, and how they stood through it. It became something bigger than he expected. People wrote in, some from universities, some from shelters, some who had never told anyone before. He didn't post selfies, didn't chase followers. He just told the truth. One day, a letter arrived. No return address. Just a folded piece of paper inside, handwritten in steady, deliberate strokes. "Thank you for standing. People like you remind us that fear doesn't last forever." Liam stared at it for a long time. Then he set it in a drawer and went back to writing. As for our Keanu, he returned to his world of films, scripts, and late-night sets. But he kept one photo in his wallet now. It wasn't of a movie or a red carpet. It was of a quiet night, a diner parking lot, and a kid standing beside a bike with shaking hands. Because that night, something more powerful than action happened. Moment of courage. A voice louder than fear. A boy who stood, and a man who watched. Not as a star, but as someone who knew how much it matters when one person says, "Enough."